If your goal is to make some money on the side with your camera in 2025, this video is for you because I'm gonna talk about why I think that real estate photography is the absolute best way to do that. There are a lot of different things you could do, right? You could shoot weddings, you could do portraits and seniors and family photos, you could shoot product, you could do real estate. There's a ton of options, but I do think that real estate media is the best way to do that. Now you might say, Eli, you're biased, and I absolutely am. I've spent the last 10 plus years in the real estate media industry, and I think it's an absolutely awesome way to make money as a photographer. I built my own real estate photo business that runs by itself now, and I've also helped a lot of people do this. So I've seen kind of both sides of the industry. And I'm gonna break it down sort of step by step, starting with the most obvious, which is the income potential. Obviously, if your goal is to make money with your camera, the income potential really matters. And I think real estate media really fits that well because of the way it's structured. So what I mean by that is there's three things that really make real estate media stand out to me over the other niches. Number one is it's repeat business. You don't have to find all new clients every month, right? If you shoot a wedding, you may have a great month. Let's say you shoot 2 weddings, you make $8,000. Well, next month you have to find all new clients again. And that's kind of hard, especially if you're trying to build consistency. So with real estate media, you find a client and they keep hiring you every time they have a listing. So it's repeat business. The next thing is, especially if you don't like sales and you don't like having to go out there and sell to grow your business, you can really grow a real estate photography business from referral growth. And so not only do you keep working with the same clients over and over again, but they're always around other real estate agents. So if you do a good job, they refer you. And then the third thing that I think really makes it awesome from an income potential standpoint is it's somewhat required. It's not like legally required that a real estate agent hires you to take photos of their listing, but it really helps them make money, right? They get a listing, you shoot great photos of that listing, it helps them sell that listing and collect that commission check, and that's what they're about. And so those three things make it a really strong income potential. Now, where a lot of people go wrong with real estate media is they're like, well, Eli, I can shoot a wedding for $4,000 and I can only shoot a house for $400, right? And what they're really messing up there is just the invoice price versus the hourly rate. So sure, with a wedding, you make $4,000, but you can only do like one a week. I mean, maybe if you really go crazy, you can do multiple a week, but really weddings are only on the weekend, right? And then real estate shoots, they can be any time of day, business day, weekend, whatever it is. And yeah, they don't pay as much, but it takes like an hour to make that versus a wedding to make $4,000. You're there for like 10 hours and you have a bunch of stuff pre and post. It's a whole thing, right? And so just don't get that confused when you're looking at options, because it's really easy to do a real estate photo shoot that makes $300 in like an hour and a half. It's not a super long process. Speaking of that, and this kind of flows naturally into that, is like the schedule. So number one, we talked about making money. That's why it's a good way to make money. Number two is the schedule, especially if you're trying to do this as a side hustle. It's really flexible. What I mean by that is, real estate agents, they'll let you shoot for them on the weekend if that's the only time you have available, or in the evening if that's when you have available, or when you go full-time eventually if that's your desire, you can switch that and you can not shoot on the weekend or evening and you can shoot during business hours. So because there's not like a set date for an event with a real estate photo shoot, like a wedding, you can just shoot it whenever it makes sense to you and you can fit that in around your work schedule, which is pretty cool. Like, regardless of how busy you are as a wedding photographer, you're only able to shoot on the weekends because most people don't get married on a Wednesday. And so sure, that might be great when you're first starting, but do you really want to spend every weekend? I don't, at least. So anyway, that's a little bit about the schedule. The biggest thing though, which we haven't even talked about, is why it's so in demand, and why it's continued to grow in demand over the last 10 plus years that I've been doing this. And that's because the way homes are sold has completely changed, right? So like 20 years ago, homes were not sold over the internet. I mean, they were starting to be, but that was like very early on, right? Most of the time how it went is, if I wanted a house, Eli was going to buy a house, right? I would go to a real estate office and I would say like, here's the house I want to buy, find it, right? And the real estate agent, especially back in the day, like there was physical books of listings. And so they would look at these listings and they would compare like, hey, here's what's available. Here's what you want in terms of square footage and location, all that. And they'd be like, here's 10 houses, let's go tour them. Now it's completely different, right? If you want to buy a house, when I just recently looked at buying a house, we looked on Zillow first, we found a listing we liked, then we called the real estate agent. And so because we're looking online first, the photos really matter. They're the first impression for that home and they're going to decide how much attention that home gets. But more importantly, if they have good listing photos, that agent listing the house gets a ton of calls from people looking for houses. And even if they don't sell them that house, they can sell them a house. And that's how they get leads. And so because the industry has just kind of flipped over the last, really, it's been more than 10 years at this point, probably more like 20, it just created more and more demand for real estate photography. And it's become the norm norm for real estate agents to use professional photos. And so that's just led to a huge growth in the number of potential jobs. I mean, you're just driving around, think about it. You see real estate signs all the time, right? Some real estate photographer got paid to shoot, the vast majority does, a few $100, on the low side. And so it just kind of has worked out where the industry is moving to a place that gives photographers more value just because everything is digital. Okay, so that's like the industry, what it looks like to make money as a real estate photographer, the schedule, everything like that. Let's talk about what you actually need to do that, because maybe you're thinking, hey, Eli, that's great. I do want to make money with my camera in 2025, but I'm not super skilled. I'm not a professional photographer. And that is my favorite part about real estate photography. It is just, and I don't mean, I'm someone in this industry, so when I say this, it kind of sounds disrespectful. But remember, I'm in this industry, and I think it's an advantage. It doesn't take a good photographer to shoot real estate. It is a very low skill type of photography. And that's a good thing if you don't have a lot of extreme photography skills. I don't, right? My goal when I started my real estate photo business was I just wanted to make some money. I liked camera stuff. I liked houses. It all went together. And more, above all that, I just wanted to make money, right? And so I didn't want to have to learn a ton of stuff or buy a ton of expensive gear. And so you can really, it does not take long to shoot real estate media. And that's not the topic of this video, but if you look on my channel, I have tons of other videos that will show you exactly how to shoot real estate photography from a how to do it standpoint and a what gear you need standpoint. And just know that it's easy to do, and the gear you can start with is so cheap. You can basically use any camera made in the last 10 years, which I think is really cool. And you don't have to have a ton of lenses, right? One camera body, one lens, and a tripod is the basics of what you need to get started. I actually have a link below this video of my gear kit if you want to check that out. I broke it down by budget. Okay, so you kind of understand the industry and the potential, at least from my perspective. You understand it may be easy for you to learn real estate photography. Maybe you don't know it yet, but you can go watch some videos and learn it. What about actually getting clients? Well, that's kind of my favorite part as well. A lot of stuff's my favorite part, right? I just love the industry. Anyway, the cool thing is real estate agents are really easy to find. And you'll see this in some of my other YouTube videos, but we recommend a strategy called the Instagram method, where because agents are easy to find, you basically just message them on Instagram and offer them a free first shoot as a lead magnet or a free trial, just like a lot of big companies do, right? So you get a chance to shoot for them, and if they like your work, they're gonna use you again and again and again. And the best thing is there are so many photographers who will never do free, and it devalues them. They have that mindset, right? And so that gives you an advantage as someone who's willing to think about this as more of a business person and say, hey, if this client is going to use me over and over and over again, how much can I pay to get them? And you're going to think, well, a lot, right? Because if they're going to keep paying me in the future, I'd be willing to pay them the value of a free first shoot. And so that's why that strategy works so well. And the hidden advantage is that a lot of photographers will never do that. So it gives you an advantage. But you have to remember this. A lot of photographers don't make any money. And those that do make money now and are sort of against the free shoot thing probably have an interest in why they're against it, right? Because number one, they didn't do it that way, but what they don't tell you is it took them forever to grow their client base. And number two, they don't want you taking their clients. And so just something to keep in mind. It's, I've said this before, and again, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but if you're gonna pick a group of people to compete against, if you could just pick an industry, you would pick photographers, because we're typically not known for being great business people. And so that means you don't have to be either, and you could sort of break into the industry in a lot easier way than in a lot of industries where there's a ton of people that are good at business that flow into there. So anyway, lastly, most people, they'll start on the side. It's a very common thing, right? Nobody, some people do, but most people don't jump in full time because we all have bills, we have, job, we have to work to make money. And we can't just go for a couple months with no money. And so the vast majority of people start on the side part-time. They shoot after hours on the weekend. If they have, flexible schedules, they can kind of shoot around that. But eventually the goal is to go full-time. And the really cool thing about real estate media is because of a lot of things that I talked about, it facilitates that. And it gives you that cushion of knowing that, hey, I have 100 clients who every time they have a listing call me. And so next month I'm good, I'm taken care of. Maybe the shoots aren't on the calendar yet, but those agents are gonna call. And so, big picture and on a serious note, in order to, quit your job and go full-time in a business, you need to have some idea that it's gonna be consistent, right? And so that's the thing with real estate is, as long as you serve those clients, they're gonna keep coming back to you over and over again every time they have a shoot. And that gives you, number one, a lot of peace when you're first making that transition. I recommend waiting until you've replaced your income before you quit. Play it safe, work hard. I'd rather work a little too much for a short period of time than have money fears. And so my strategy is I recommend replacing your income on the side before you quit. And then once you quit, number two is you'll have that piece of those agents coming back to you every time they have a listing. Again, you have to take care of them. They don't just come back to you, if you're doing an awful job and you're unpleasant to work with and everything. But again, it's pretty easy to be pleasant to work with and be accommodating because these people are paying your bills and allowing you to do something you like for a living. At least that's the way I think about it. And so that's kind of an overview. If you're looking for a side hustle that maybe you could take full time in the future, and you want to do something you enjoy. So you're here on this video because you probably either enjoy cameras or think that would be something you enjoy. And this is a way you can pair it with something that's going to give you some financial enjoyment as well if you do it right. So that's an overview. If you're newer to my channel, I encourage you dive in and watch all my videos, really soak it up like a sponge. All my stuff on here is free. And so you get to decide if this is for you without spending or giving me $1, right? You get to learn and make sure that number one, you want to do real estate photography. And number two, I'm the person you want to learn from. And then if you want to take it a step further and dive all in, we'd love to work with you in a one-on-one way in our coaching program. You can check out more info on that below and grab a time to chat with my team. We have a great team, and this is what we do for a living. I have my agency, Norman & Young, that has a great team and runs itself now. I hate to say runs itself because there's really a team that runs it. But my full-time thing is helping others break into this awesome industry. And so that's what we do in coaching. You can check the link for that below, and I'll see you in the next video.